It's Sunday, March the 20th, 2011, and we are in the car heading back from our spring break trip, and there's been a lot of Plants vs. Zombies action happening on this trip, and so I've suggested that we do a little podcast talking about ways to win Plants vs. Zombies or different kinds of tips. So we've kind of made a little outline and we'll get started. So we're going to first just define what the game is for people who don't know. So Rachel, you want to start? What is Plants vs. Zombies in a few words?
Well, Plants vs. Zombies is a game on iPhone or iPad and stuff like that. And you play it, and you are the plants trying to defeat the zombies with these special plants. There are a lot of kinds of them, and you're trying to protect your house, because if you don't protect it, the zombies will come to your house and eat your brains. And the first thing you need to know is order. There are certain orders that you need to go in.
Okay, well, hold on. Before we go there, let's get some more definitions. So, Sarah, what else would you add to that about the game and what it is?
Plants vs. Zombies is a simulation game, and there are sort of things like Crazy Dave. He helps you, and you get to go to Crazy Dave when I think you get 3,000 coins or something like that. But it is lots of fun. And first, when I heard the game Plants vs. Zombies, I go, Rachel, are you kidding? You're playing Plants vs. Zombies? But then I actually started playing it, and it is actually very, very addicting and fun.
Alexander, what would you add to that, and why have you enjoyed the game compared to other games?
Plants vs. Zombies is a strategy game that you work hard to set up defenses around your house and prevent the zombies from getting to you. It is set up with very many variables and different things could happen in the game. Different plants, different zombies, things that make it more difficult and challenging the more you play it.
So there's lots of different combinations, and it actually involves a lot of strategy because you have a lot of decisions to make. So there's a lot more strategy that goes into it than a game like Angry Birds, as we've been talking about. So Rachel, what did you want to tell us about the order?
Well, the order is very important because you need to remember the order. Like, you want the sunflowers to be in the back, because if you, the zombies, because the more sunflowers you have, the more suns you get, and the more suns you get, the faster you can grow plants, and you need to plant them in the back, because the zombies will eat them and you won't get as much sun. And then you should, like, put shooters and stuff. And once, and there are different orders that you need to follow, so then you can stay alive in the game.
All right, good. You told us a little bit of background. Sarah, talk a little bit about plants and what the plants do and their functions and things.
Well, there are different plants, and to start off the game, you only have like 2 or 3 kinds of plants. Those are your sunflowers. And sunflowers and your little shooter dudes. And I think that's it. But yeah, they're very cool because the sunflowers, you have suns that fall from the sky. You have to have sun to grow a plant, right? And so the sunflowers get you more suns, and then the more suns you have, the more plants you can plant.
Suns also fall from the sky too.
Yeah.
To help you get started.
So Alexander, how do you start a game? Because timing, you think, is pretty important with your order of planting?
When you first start out a game, you start out with 50 suns, and the sunflowers cost 50. So the first thing you always need to do is plant a sunflower, because that is how you are able to build more defenses. So you first start out by planting those in the very back, because you don't want, because the zombies will eat your plants to get to your house. So you always start out with your sunflowers to the back, and then as you start planting more sunflowers and you collect more sun, you can start to get more offensive plants, and like pea shooters, which are the plants that you start out with, and you put them next to the sunflowers in the back rows to give them the most time to battle the zombies.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how the game gets more challenging, because there's some different elements with night and day. So Rachel, tell us a little bit about that and what you do differently in the night than in the day.
Well, night and day are different parts. Like you start on the day, then you go to the night. And there are daytime plants and nighttime plants. The daytime plants, they're awake and they use in the daytime. And the nighttime plants, they use in the night and they work then. But if you get the nighttime plants in the daytime, they go to sleep and they don't work. So you need to use them in the night. But you can use the daytime plants in the night because they do the same thing, like pea shooters and suns. But there are also like mushrooms, and they give you suns in the night and produce it faster. You'll get that too, and they're very different. And they just, you need to make sure you use them at the right time, and it's just really important, or else you won't use them and you'll fall behind.
So you only get to choose, 6 or 7 plants as you start? So Sarah, what do you look for when you're choosing your plants, especially as you go later in the game and you get to the night?
Well, I have a strategy, and I know Alexander has a strategy, and I know Rachel has a strategy, and each of us think that ours works better.
Because I've beaten the game and she hasn't yet.
She's still working on it, so go ahead.
My strategy is to start with rows of sunflowers and pea shooters, and once you get into the game, you'll have these things called medusas, or they're not.
We didn't talk about the night and day stuff.
It's okay. It's all right. Go ahead. It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, yeah, these medusas, and they're not called medusas. They're just used as medusas. And they pull your plants under because, as Rachel said, there's different strategy. I mean, there's hard levels, and there's night and day. You also have pools, and there's fog.
Right, and so the pools mean what when you have water in your yard?
When you have water in your yard, you have different.
It's okay. You can say that later.
You have swimming zombies, and there's this one zombie. When you get into the game, it's called a dolphin dude or a dolphin zombie, and he's riding on a dolphin. Here, Alexander wants to talk.
So how do you stop that guy? Or did you want to back up and say something else first?
Can we back up? Okay, so, Rachel and Sarah didn't finish talking about the night and day aspect. They kind of skipped forward. So I want to continue on that. This game is very creative in that there are different levels in which you advance in. You first go through the daytime which you just have rows of grass and you battle the zombies, and then you move on to the night. And when you're in the night, since it is the night, sun does not fall from the sky, so it's harder to build up your plants. So you get a whole new kind of species of plants, which are the mushrooms. So now you have all these mushrooms, which don't cost as much sun and are easier to produce since it is during the night and you can't. And then as you advance through the levels, you have the daytime with the pool, and then you have the nighttime with the pool, and then you have nighttime with fog in it, and then you have to battle on your roof, which is one of the last. So it makes the game more interesting, in which you go through all these different levels.
And you also, at the beginning, you start in your front yard, but then when you go to the pool, you're in your backyard.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the different plants that we really like, because it gets to the point in the game where there's so many that you can't have them all, and some people, have favorites or whatever. So, Rachel, what are some of your favorite advanced plants to get?
Well, in the daytime, I have good ones that I really like to use. I like the sunflowers and the pea shooters, and also one of my favorites is the cherry bombs, and they blow them up, and they're just really quick, and sometimes but they cost 120 cents.
150.
150.
And they're one-time use, so you can only use them once, and they act immediately, so they're not very efficient.
Rachel, tell about some of the different kinds of zombies, because there gets to be some advanced ones that move real fast and are hard, and I use the cherry bomb sometimes on them. What are some of those advanced zombies?
Well, the first zombie that you use is just really easy, and he is the plain zombie. He's the one that loves brains the most. And then when you get into the game, there are harder ones. Like one of the hardest ones that I have right now with me is a new one, and I don't see him that often because of the fog, so I don't really see him. But he is like, he's really weird, and he blows stuff up. And also there are this football guy, and the football guy, goes really, really fast, and he's hard to defeat. You can't just do him with shooters. Sometimes you have to blow him up, and also if you get him in the night, I get the ones where is one thing and it turns them around, then you make it fight for you, because then a zombie eats another zombie and they go backwards, and that's pretty good. Okay,
Sarah, you want to tell a little bit about some of the special zombies?
Yeah. Some of the special zombies, and I'm going to talk about some of my favorite plants. There are, as I said, the dolphin guys. Oh, and Elvis. He's not really called Elvis, I don't think. We call him Elvis. But he comes out, and there are also graves. And then some of the zombies come out of the graves. And so Elvis walks out, and then he has 4 people, and they come out of the graves or out of the ground.
They're kind of dancing all around him, and like they're a big offensive.
Backup dancers. Yeah. And those are some
These are cool.
Zombies.
Yeah.
And some of my favorite plants are, I think, the medusas.
Which are one-time use.
Right. I like a lot of one-time uses because they're quick and they go. And I really like the potato.
They only take out one.
I know. And I like no, not that. He said they only take out one person. The cherry bombs.
1 or 2.
The cherry bombs can take out lots of people. So.
And that's the neat thing about the game too, is that there's multiple ways to win. It's not that there's only one strategy that can win. There, some are more effective than others, but you can try different ways. So, Alexander, you want to comment on zombie types and favorite plants?
Yes. There are lots of different zombies, but each zombie has one weakness or one good way to beat them. Some of them are just battering them down, and sometimes it takes more than the time it takes for the zombie to walk down your row. So one of the most efficient plants that you will always need on every single level is a walnut, or a big wall. No one's talked about that yet, but that is one of the best plants you can get, because it basically gives the zombies something to chew on while they're trying to get through. It does not last forever, but it stops or delays the zombies to give your pea shooters and different plants to keep firing and beat them. And then there are different things, like on one plant that you will get is a hot pepper plant, which is one use, but it is a lot more efficient because the cherry bombs only work in plants right around it, but this will go up the whole entire row, and it is especially good if your zombie is right there and you can't plant any pea shooter or anything right above him. So you put this and you can put it at the back. And one of the biggest zombies that you can get is this Bobsled Zombie, basically, and he rides...
He's riding a Zamboni, isn't he?
Yeah, he's riding a Zamboni, and he comes down, and then he lays this layer of ice that you cannot plant on, and it's really hard to get off, it takes a lot of hits, but this hot pepper is one of the best ways to get it, because it will melt the ice and destroy that zombie.
So, Rachel, we haven't talked about the mowers. Tell a little bit about what mowers are and how they are in the game, and then you can talk about it. You can do that. Cool.
the mowers are like, they kind of save you sometimes, because sometimes when the zombies are about to get your house, you get kind of frightened. So then the lawnmowers run over the zombies. But the good part is, if you plant plants right after the zombie eats the other plants, the plants just stay there. They don't get run over. Only the zombies do, and they're really cool. And also, the lawnmowers run over a whole row. There are a lawnmower in each row.
So it's kind of a last-ditch effort. And we ought to also say that this isn't a real bloody game. It sounds that way with all the eating of brains and, mowing zombies and stuff. But it's not like there's blood and guts and stuff like that. Yeah. Sarah,
it's really silly how, a zombie's arm or head will fall off and there's no blood or whatever. It's just basically a puppet.
Yeah, it's not a gory game at all. Sarah, if besides the regular mowers, did you want to talk about there was something else that can kind of be like a mower?
It's called a pool cleaner. You get a mower or something in your pool, but they only work for one zombie. It's not like the mowers that Rachel was talking about. But when you go to Crazy Dave's shop for 100 or 200 coins, you can buy these pool cleaners, and they will go through the pool and they will wipe out zombies just like the mowers. And I find those really effective, because at the beginning when I just got the pool, I was like, the mower didn't wipe out that whole row, and so the zombies ate my brains. And if they eat your brains, they walk into your house and then they put words up. They say, the zombies ate your brains. No blood, nothing.
And they have funny notes that they send too. So,
one of the harder levels that you get onto, which I have only gotten to, is the roof levels, and you don't even get mowers up there, so it's really hard to let them in. So getting these roof cleaners are one of them must, and they act the same way as the mowers and pool cleaners, and they just go through an entire row, but because you don't have anything like that when you start off there.
So, Alexander, what kind of tips would you give people for getting to those final levels where you're on the roof, and then what's the big boss called, or the troll, or what's the huge guy, and how did you eventually defeat him?
Boss.
Yeah.
Well, as you get on, you will find that the game becomes hard, and random planting does not work. You cannot just random plant things everywhere. You have to have the right amount of sun to get the job done, and so you always need to get at least the sun-producing mushrooms in the night levels, or the sunflowers in the daytime, and plant at least 2 rows in the back. And then once you have 2 rows of those, you need to get at least 1 row right in front of that of your pea shooters or long range mushrooms, and then you can and then for the higher up levels in daytime, you can get this fireball thing, and then put it in front of those, and then you have your walnuts, and that goes basically for every single level that you will need, because you need to be organized, because especially on some of the larger levels, you need those high-end plants to get past. Like one of the troll zombies, it took me a couple levels to get past, just because he is so large, and it takes a lot of hits. And one of the best ways to get him is, even though the plants or the mushrooms sleep during the day, as you get farther onto the roof levels, you get this special coffee bean, and it will actually wake up all the mushrooms if you plant it on the mushroom. And so
Did you have to buy that from Crazy Dave?
No, it gives it to you after you go so far. So you get this, and then the ice mushroom is wonderful just because it'll freeze them, and then that's very helpful. Especially if you don't have the money, or if you know you're going to use it later, and but you don't want to save the money, you can plant it and then have it be asleep, and then you can put the coffee bean on later to activate it, which is nice.
Okay. All right, and then we'll just do final tips of what else you guys have, and then we'll wrap it up. Did you lose your thought? Okay. Rachel, do you have any more tips or suggestions that you would give people who are playing the game to keep in mind to be successful?
Well, Plants vs. Zombies gets hard, and you need special plants to defeat them. There are orders. There's a lot of things you need to win and defeat all the zombies at once, and you just need to be really ready for the game. And once you start playing it, you really get hooked onto it, and it gets really fun.
Okay, awesome. Sarah?
She said there's hard things, but it's also really fun and easy to do. It's challenging, but
it's not impossible.
Right, it's not impossible.
You just need to know what plants to plant and where to plant them. Don't give up. Keep planting.
Yeah, because I put the zombies in my brains a few times, and it just happens, and then you just get to redo that level. It's not like it takes you back to the beginning or anything.
Okay, so Plants vs. Zombies is not only available for iOS devices like iPhones and iPads, it's also available for desktop systems and Android and a lot of things. I think it's PopCap Games. So, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time. Adios.